Alright, it's time to talk about the NBA's trade deadline. So without further ado, we're going to jump directly into it as always. So this was my original thoughts like 39 minutes prior to the actual deadline itself, which was of course at noon today, February 8th, as you can tell, 2024. So yeah, Alec Burks went back to the Knicks, and Utah is back to Memphis. And it's interesting because I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, Yuta Watanabe, I'm pretty sure, actually started in Memphis. He's going back where he started at that point, which I just found to be interesting. Same with, again, the idea of Alec Burks going back to the Knicks. Obviously, it's a different circumstance because Alec Burks did not originally start with the Knicks. He started with Utah. But it's still interesting to know that he's still going back to one of his prior teams. In fact, for Alec, it's almost the opposite, but the same, if that makes any sense, because he's going right back to the Knicks. And I'm pretty sure before he ended up in Detroit, he was already with the Knicks. So he's just randomly back with New York again. The Pistons is a really interesting circumstance because, again, they sent out more players than I think almost anybody expected. They obviously sent out Alec Burks. They sent out Bojan Bogdanovic. Everybody knew they were going to trade Bojan. They just didn't know who else they'd necessarily trade, especially considering Detroit has, for the longest time now, been stockpiling big men. And it's really awkward to have as many big men as they do, especially when they are potentially switchable. Jalen Duren's about the only true center they have, so he'd be kind of tough to justify switching to power forward in a modern context, but you could technically do it if you want to go more bully ball. They also waived a bunch of players, I think specifically two. They waived Killian Hayes, and they waived, I think they got Daniel House from Philly, and they waived him too, which is interesting. The reason why I say that Phoenix sending out Jordan Goodwin feels like a long-term mistake is because Jordan Goodwin is a really, like, cliché-ly tenacious player, and that's a good thing to be cliché-ly tenacious. He's genuinely tenacious. He's very consistent. He's very, his ethic and his effort. He's extremely the classic junkyard dog. Like, he's constantly hustling. He's constantly running for loose balls. He's constantly trying to get tips on passes. He's constantly trying to get steals. He actually is a decent shot blocker despite being a guard. I think he's like 6'4". He just has like extreme activity all the time, especially on the defensive end of the ball and also hunting for rebounds. He's incredibly good at that, and he's already shown he's becoming a better and better catch and shoot scorer, so spot up shooter, which is good. He's already a great cutter. He has great athleticism, great springs. And again, this dude, I'm pretty sure Jordan Goodwin's a rookie. If he's not, he's definitely no more than a third-year guy. I'm pretty sure he's a rookie, though. And he's absolutely been fantastic for them. When he's been given especially proper opportunities with Phoenix, he has absolutely shored up their defense, which is what they've desperately needed, obviously, because their front line is offense heavy. It's all about offense and scoring and not about really anything else. So it's huge to actually have somebody like him, especially who's so young, who has great potential, because in the future, especially if he is a rookie, in the future, it's good to have a guy potentially locked up for 4 years and then have bird rights on him if you want to extend him if the time comes that he actually develops that much better. So the Jordan Goodwin thing was a bit of an odd choice. Also, Utah is a great rotational player. It's just that, again, Phoenix has the weirdest rotations to me because especially considering Frank Vogel is a defensive first kind of coach. So having somebody like Yuta Watanabe is incredibly fitting for somebody like Frank Vogel, especially considering the dude likes good cutters. He likes decent, pretty high IQ passers, which Utah is underrated in, for sure. He's very underappreciated in his ability to make some plays and cutting. And he's also obviously an elite catch and shoot 3-point shooter. So it's just weird that he decided not to really give him any minutes. I find that to be bizarre because that doesn't really fit what you'd expect with Frank Vogel. Actually, I was like, wow, they got like the perfect fucking set of backups for dirt cheap for this season. And especially part of that was Frank Vogel, because Frank Vogel, it fits the system so well. I mean, Drew Eubanks fits the system really well. It's just really weird and kind of awkward that apparently he must not have really cared. Either that or Matt Ishbia, the owner, didn't really like them, maybe, or the rotations. I don't know what exactly is going on there, but something about that was really funky. And yeah, then the Knicks idea of being focused on fortifying the roster with the veteran scorers rather than two-way or defensive-oriented players. Again, defenses ramp up like a motherfucker come playoffs. And the deeper in the playoffs you go, the harder obviously the competition is, and the more locked in and readied the rest of the teams are. In fact, usually they're also more experienced. Defense becomes infinitely more valuable and infinitely more preached and pushed in the playoffs than offense. Offense obviously still there, but even the offense usually shifts and changes a bit because you usually have to change it up, especially at that point, because now teams are already used to what your plays have been the whole year and what you usually do in certain situations. So obviously, as a smart coach, you're going to try to change your plays, you're going to try to change your situations, you're going to try to change the timing, the rotations, maybe even. You're going to do what you can to adapt and adjust, and especially in live time. That's what the best coaches always do. They always adapt live time and alter and change plays, or alter and change where players are placed and how much movement is or isn't on or off the ball. Like everything can adapt and change and be tweaked live time because it's a chess match. You're trying to out adapt to the other team. As soon as they start to clearly start to adapt to your game plan and they start to adapt away from you, how you've been defending them, you just keep obviously altering that. Obviously, Tibbs is considered like the foremost defensive specialist and defensive minded coach. Getting even more offense is just kind of strange, especially considering you've already gotten rid of some of your offensive players like RJ Barrett. And even IQ was actually pretty damn good and pretty consistent given his opportunities with the Knicks in regards to offense. So it's just kind of weird that you're going to go for more offense than defense. And also, again, the age is a bit off. Like, I understand you do want good veteran leadership, like proper veteran leadership, ones where you know what you're going to get from them day in and day out. It's still odd, though, because that's one of the reasons why they traded for Ogagua, British guy, as I like to call him, because his full name is actually Ogagua for some reason. So OG Anunoby, that's one of the reasons why they traded for him, is because of the fact that he's a defensive specialist. He's one of the best defenders in the league. It's super switchable across, as we all know. We've heard relentlessly about him that you can switch him almost 1 through 5. That's why they traded for him and traded away 2 decent and relatively athletic offensive players. Now they go for a little bit slower, older, veteran and steady-minded vets for locker room presence, I guess, further and more potential playoff experience in offense for less defense. OG's not helping your defense that much to where it's like, okay, and we don't need to worry about defense anymore. It's just a bizarre trade, in my opinion, for New York. I don't think it's going to end up bad. I think it will definitely help them in the regular season for sure. It's the playoffs again that where it comes into question. It's like I don't really trust that that's going to help them as much as they probably are assuming it will. I think that was, it's not a mistake, but I think it's an errored judgment call on their part. Gordy going to OKC is really interesting and bizarre. It's very unique, a very unique trade. Like, I don't think anybody would have expected this kind of a move from Oklahoma City, from the Thunder. Because this is like, yes, you want a good veteran. You want one that's reliable, especially offensively, let alone defensively. Somebody who's a great leader, who's very steady-headed and everything. That's what you want on a team, you super young team like OKC, obviously. Especially if now you're deciding, well, we're in a perfect position to get a great asset like this and make a push. Okay, fair. But as much as I think Gordy is one of the best representatives in terms of level-headedness and veteran leadership and just like humbleness and just being a great dude in general on and off the court, and he's a good two-way player when he's healthy, it's his age that I question, because he's in his early 30s. And I also question the fact that he's super injury prone. I mean, again, he's consistently going out injured every season. He always has another injury to his legs, his leg system, let's call it. Whether it's his hip, his knees, usually his knees or his ankles or his feet. And it's consistent and persistent. And obviously the older he gets, the more slowed he's going to get, and the more it's going to take its toll on his body, and thus the worse those injuries will get. It's a risky move to trade for Gordy. I'm assuming he must be again on another expiring contract. I say another because it doesn't seem like it was that long ago to me that he signed to the current one. So I'm assuming that's a part of it, is that he's on an expiring contract this year. I'm sure he doesn't have a player option, so it's probably literally just, if it doesn't work out that well, they can let him walk, or they can do a sign and trade, whatever. But his experience and guidance will definitely, I think, help the Thunder. And again, if he can stay healthy, especially in the playoffs, he's going to be a very valuable asset for them. And obviously the small forward spot. And Gordy, again, can play. I think he's actually officially 6'9". Although, again, the NBA with heights can never make up its mind what height a player is. That's why Victor Wembanyama, an example, is already anywhere between 7'2" and 7'5", and they haven't made up their mind what height he really is. There's almost always a 3-inch range. DeAndre Ayton has been listed anywhere between 6'10", somehow, and 7 foot. Gordy originally for many years was listed as 6'9", and now I've seen him listed as low as 6'7", and also, of course, 6'8". I don't know what height he really is. It's anybody's guess in that range. It's somewhere in there. But I'm going to stick with 6'9" because that was what he was listed at the longest for the most of the early years of his career in Utah. Anyway, the point is he can play also a little bit of stretch 4 as well. And he's actually not the worst at defending even stronger guys in the post. But, you know, you don't want to rely on him doing that. But the point is he is somewhat switchable. So that's a good thing. Again, if he stays healthy, OKC's got a great veteran to really help them make a push. But it's still odd because they also traded multiple players, young players with good potential, for him, straight up. In fact, I believe they traded a pick as well. I'm pretty sure it was a second rounder, but it's just interesting. It does, however, help them get rid of Davis Bertans' horrific contract that Dallas originally signed him to. So that's a huge boon and a huge plus for them long term. But yeah, Trey Mann was also shipped out in this deal. Vesela Micic. Anyway, so yeah, those are the 3 players they sent out. And then, of course, finally, we were the last team. The Portland Trailblazers, the Portland Fail-Tasers, were the very last goddamn team in the NBA to do anything with the trade deadline. And the one thing we did was we traded for Delano Banton from the Celtics. And Delano started in Rono Ibano in Toronto with the Fappers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's 6'6". He might be registered as 6'8". Or 6'9". If he's 6'9", then at that point he's literally Magic Johnson in height. But yeah, he's at least 6'6", and he's supposedly considered a true point guard. I don't know how much I believe that. I haven't really watched him or seen him that much, so I can't really give a accurate description about what his play style's like, or how he plays, or what his skills currently are, or whatever else. He's relatively young. I think he's been in the league at least for 4 seasons now. I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure he's also on an expiring contract. This is the end of his rookie deal. We would have bird rights. I don't know how I feel about this because on one hand, yes, we needed a proper point guard to shore up our depth at the point guard position, at the playmaking position for us. Yes, we still have Malcolm Brogdon, and obviously we have Scoot. But if you think about it, those are only two true ball handlers well, I shouldn't say ball handlers, I should say playmakers. There's only true 2 playmakers, although Scoot's still really shaky there. He's not as bad as CJ McCollum was and still is. But either way, if he was actually off his rookie deal, then it's the same deal, ironic, you know, no pun intended, ironically. It's the same deal for us in terms of like it's no risk quality experiment, because again, he's relatively young, and a lot of teams seem to be high on Delano Banton and say, hey, this guy has a lot of potential to become a great giant point guard that can actually do some decent scoring and potentially be a decent defender in the league. So it's not a bad deal. And especially, again, either way, whether it's the end of his rookie contract or he got declined on one of his rookie team option deals, and so now he's actually on a 1-year contract, it's still expiring. So that's actually positive as well. And then, yeah, the trade for Pat Bev is campaign and a 2nd-round pick. So it's just a swap from offense to defense. That's what it is, which is understandable because they need a good defender, especially at the point guard position. Because again, Dame is one of the worst defenders in the league, especially perimeter, let alone in general. and you're not going to take minutes away from him. So he's a good pickup because obviously you're not going to be able to get back Drew Holiday. So might as well go for second best, and that's probably going to be Pat Bev. He has a good intensity to him, right? So that is a solid pickup. Campaign's great, but he's only an offensive player, so. The Dallas-Charlotte trade, though, is awkward. And I know, like, there's going to be a billion videos that are going to be probably dominantly focused on this, because there already has been ahead of time. Like, this is the main rumor that everybody's playing videos on, that makes any videos on basketball. And this trade, I don't feel like is going to benefit the Mavs as much as I think it is. Again, I think Grant is actually a little younger than PJ Washington. Not that PJ Washington's old. He's not. I think he's 25. You're trading defense for offense with this trade. That's what you're doing. Also, you're getting a way better athlete than you have with Grant. Grant's a very slow guy. In fact, you look at him and like his bulk and his weight, and you already know this dude's pretty fucking slow, including laterally. He's a good defender. He really is. He's a net positive defender for any team. But offensively, he's actually had a really down year this year, which, you know, not too surprising. He's been unreliable there. So you're just trading a slightly younger defensive player for a slightly older offensive player who's also more athletic. This is the only trade-off you're really getting. They're getting rid of Seth Curry again, though, which is absurd. It's wild. It's just incredible. And they're also getting rid of a first rounder, which is pretty painful. Yeah, so it's slightly protected, which is slightly better. It's just, it doesn't make that much sense rotationally, because again, their main issue is they've lacked a defense, kind of like the Pacers, right? So it's like, you'd think they'd want to trade for a better defensive player, or maybe a better two-way guy. Yeah, like this, again, PG Washington's a great pickup if you want offense, and they just went all in on offense again, which is just the weirdest choice. Like, huh? And they also just signed fucking Grant Williams to a 4-year $50, I think it was, $1 million contract this last offseason. So he's only been with them for the half of the season. Like, they're so high on him, and already they're like, and you're gone. We'll take this guy instead. But Seth, like, they keep bringing him back, and everybody's like, yes, we have Seth back, because, you know, Seth Curry has his career years always in Dallas. People love him there in Dallas. The better Curry, aka. And yeah, the superior Curry, bro. And they keep trading him away again. Like, they keep signing him, like, yeah, we're going to sign you for a multi-year deal. We want you here because we love you here. And then they always just trade him like half a year in. And he's already back out again. It's like they're toying with the guy. It's the weirdest thing. Oh, man. But yeah, Quentin Grimes. I know there's a lot of Knicks fans that have been sky high on Quentin. So that's an interesting one that they traded him away. They also traded away IQ, another guy that a lot of Pistons fans are really high on. They're both really young guys. They both have great grit. Specifically, Quentin has better grit. IQ has more aggression on offense. He's a decent playmaker. Quentin's obviously a proper shooting guard. IQ is played at shooting guard, but he's more of a point guard. And they got rid of their two, like, highest on them guys. And even actually, really, a lot of experts were like, these guys have great potential, and they already got rid of them. It's like, okay, that's interesting, because they were untouchable. I think they were actually both considered untouchable last year by the Knicks. And all of a sudden, they're like, yeah, we'll freely trade them away. Hey, here you go. Evan Fournier, you knew that contract had to come off at some point. It hasn't came off for the last couple of years. They've been wanting to. They finally did it. It took them like a season and a half to finally get a trade done to get rid of his contract. Fournier. And then Ryan RGD fucking Akino. This motherfucker cannot keep a job. He cannot keep a place to play. It doesn't matter where he goes, he's going to get traded or he's going to get waived. And that's just what's going to happen to him. And I kind of feel bad because I feel like he's a better player than his statistics prove. He's certainly like a top-notch teammate kind of player, Ryan Arcidiacono. He really is. He's a top-notch he's a stand-up class act guy on and off the court. Good vet to have, despite the fact that, again, he's always struggled and he's never been able to carve out a role for himself on any team anywhere in the league. I mean, even with us, he carved out a role last year, but then we got rid of him. I think we waived him. I don't even think we traded him because fuck this, basically. You know, like he's still not good enough, even on as bad as we were last year. We still are like, but you're not good enough to even play for us now and have a consistent role. So he was up and down in his role. Then we waive him. Like, this one never completed. I didn't actually catch this one. I skipped past it earlier. The Jizzards are nearing a deal to send Daniel Gafford to the Mavs for Rashawn Holmes in draft compensation. Now, see, that would make the trade for PJ Washington make a hell of a lot more sense for Dallas. If they had somebody like a Daniel Gafford, that would end up way better a deal for Grant Williams straight up for PJ Washington like that. That would be way superior deal and way more positively impactful for the Mavs. The thing is that this is all you get with this. They're nearing a deal, but obviously they must not have made that deal. Well, I mean, look at these numbers. 11 points per game, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 70% from the fucking field. Bro, that's absolutely elite. And look at how cheap his contract is. That's dirt cheap for his value. Are you fucking kidding? Dude, that's worth it to literally any team. Whether you're a contender, you're trying to move into contention, so you're trying to take the next step, bolster your roster so you can make a deeper run, or you're again a rebuilding team like say here in Portland, right? Yeah, the Grizzlies weighed over Victor Oladipo. So I saw that this season, apparently Victor Oladipo is out for the whole season with another knee injury. This guy cannot catch a break. He cannot catch a break. Every time he seems to finally get healthy and seem stable and start to really get his game back on, he goes out with another knee or ankle injury. And it's almost always the same knee or ankle. So he, especially now, I think he's 30. I wouldn't doubt if he has maybe 1 or 2 short-term, tiny veteran minimum deals left in his tank before he has to give up and retire. Because I don't think very many teams left are going to have confidence enough to even sign him for a vet minimum, knowing he's probably going to go out again with another bad knee or ankle injury. So that's something to keep in mind, because this can't keep happening and you keep a job. Memphis sent Roddy, which is one of their only healthy players, by the way. I love how Heat Check on YouTube, he actually described the Memphis Grizzlies as looking like their injury list or their roster now looks just like a fucking hospital. It looks like a hospital. And I'm like, you know what? That's the best possible description for the injury list, because it's over half of their roster is out with some set of injuries right now and will be for a while. And that's wild. And 3 of them, now 2 of them, were out for the whole season. So they get Yuta Watanabe. And the Suns sent out Keita Bates-Diop, who's had a great set of seasons the last 2-3 years in the league. He's a very positively impactful player on both offense and defense. He's an incredible hustle-oriented player. He hustles every single loose ball play, for loose ball and play, again, especially defensively. He's a great switchable defender. And he can play him on a stretch 4 if you want to. He's very capable of that. He's technically more of a catch and shoot 3-and-D small forward though. But he's relatively athletic. I mean, he's a great dude, and he's already improved he's improved over the last couple of seasons. He's really improved his post game and his post moves. He's expanded that quite a bit, and it's way more reliable. So that is interesting that they don't just get rid of the Jordan Goodwin, they get rid of him too. Chimezie Metu has had a tough time this year, though, I've noticed. So yeah, just David Roddy is incredible, because like that's one of their only healthy players that they have on their roster that's also young and has great potential and plays hard. And they're like, you can go. You're done. Leave. All right, cool. Oh man, he doesn't say who to though. Each of these go to. I'm assuming it's only Yuta Watanabe for Memphis, but I'm not 100% sure. Killian Hayes getting waived makes sense. It's about time. Detroit's tried to give him a lot of chances for too long. Like I think he's been in the league since at least 2019, if not 2018, I think is when he came in. He's been with Detroit the whole time. Detroit. And he still hasn't figured out how to play basketball. So, to be fair, it's just a smart sound trade, like, or not, rather waiver. It's like, why not? I still love this because people are clowning Dame for that because that should make him nice and uncomfortable. Oh yeah, and then the Pistons are also waiving Joe Harris. So again, with the Pistons deals, it's interesting because they sent out 3 players and they waived 2, which means that now they have open roster spots, which is interesting. Given their current record and position, it wouldn't make sense to try to improve your roster right now via buyout. So I don't know. And it also doesn't make sense to try to tank harder because you're already guaranteed to end the year with the worst record in the league, even below the Spurs. Like the Spurs are not going to try to contend and beat you out for worst record. I'm sorry. They're not going to do it. And speaking of which, by the way, February 8th, 2024, again, that's today, the trade deadline day. The Portland Trailblazers play the goddamn Pistons, the Pissers tonight, the Debt Riot Pissers. And I have said for now 2 months straight, I guarantee, I even said it directly to the Pistons themselves multiple times. I said, I guarantee when we play you in February, that's tonight, we're going to give you your 4th or 5th win. Well, guess what? They have a chance to win their 5th game tonight. It's so far looking like I nailed my prediction. And it would be the most Blazers thing ever to lose by 10 plus realistically. But actually, I would not be surprised to see us lose by 20 or more points tonight to the Pistons. I've spent more than enough time on this whole thing. So I'm going to finally end my goddamn video. I only intended to make this like a 30-minute video, but I've actually been recording for almost an hour and 15. So we'll see what kind of a mess this is at it. See ya at the loss to the Pistons tonight. You know it's happening. Let's face it. Don't lie to yourself. We're losing.